Hey, no, this is not an out and about. This is technically a 31 Days of Horror 2015 segment. And you'll have to forgive me, for I am in my car, so if I'm not always looking at the camera or at all, it's because I'm driving. And I need to keep my eyes on the road. Yeah, you may be wondering, why am I shooting this video in the car? Well, it's a pretty simple answer, actually. Considering we are currently at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, which means at least 2 movies a night, maybe 3 if it's a weekend, combined with essentially, you know, like working full-time Monday through Friday, commute times, and both, you know, to and from work and to and from the movie theater. I'm not getting home until midnight at the earliest, 2 o'clock, 1 to 2 o'clock being pretty common because, you know, the transportation system to my home seems to be all messed up. The subway doesn't seem to be running all the way for some reason. One night I get there and everything seems fine. The next night, not so much. But yeah, it means that I've got to squeeze these things in whenever I can. So here I am in the car going home from work, and I'm going to be talking about the movie Shut In, which is played the first film from Sunday, October 18th, at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival. And oddly enough, I think it was put in the wrong time section, because the film was definitely a lot better than most afternoon festival screenings usually are. It's I've been to festivals for years and years and years, and those afternoon slots, even though some of them can be really, really good movies, are often, the films that they just don't think are going to draw anybody in, which is disappointing, because Shut In, well, you know what? It's definitely worth checking out. It's directed by Adam Schindler, I believe. Yes, Adam Schindler. And as far as I know, he's not really done anything prior to this. The film is about it's a home invasion film, essentially, with a twist. And so, well, I guess it's a couple of twists. The first twist is the main character, Anna, played by Beth Ricegraf. I'm probably killing her name. She's agoraphobic, so she can't leave the house. Now this is explained that I guess it's due to things that have happened in her past, but it doesn't get too convoluted with that past storyline. It is a main portion of the film, but it doesn't dwell on it and make it too confusing for the viewer, which is nice, because that often happens in these type of films, low budget, and they tend to, lots of flashbacks and stuff, and never really explain anything, give you little tidbits here and there, because they think they're, being mysterious and such, but you got to give enough so that the viewer knows what's going on, but not too much so that they clue into exactly what the reasons are, if it happens to be part of the twist or a part of the mystery or whatever that may be in the film. And I think Shut In does a good job of telling that backstory without giving too much away, until obviously the final reveal. And so, yeah, she's agoraphobic, which, if you think about it, in a home invasion film is not a good thing, because the first thing you want to do is get out of there and run away. But if you can't run away, what are you gonna do, right? So yeah, it definitely takes a different twist there. Now Beth herself I really enjoyed her performance. I didn't know her from anything prior, but her main, I guess the main thing she's been in was a television show called Leverage. I had never heard of it, but you know, it had over 70 episodes, so it had to be had to have done something, right? And so, yeah, so people might know her from that if you know that show. But outside of that, there isn't really anything. She's had bit parts here and there. Done a lot of work, so she's not new to the acting game, which is nice. And I think it kind of shows. Outside of that, most of the people in the film are kind of, you know, nobodies, first-timers, or people who have done a lot of acting, but not a lot of acting, if you know what I mean. Very much bit roles, cameos, small parts, maybe, you know, extra work or something like that. You know, just a lot of things, you know, boy with tool or something like, you know, that kind of credit. But there is one other person who thought looked familiar when I was watching the movie, but, you know, as is always the case, there's always people who look like somebody else. But this particular young gentleman, when I looked him up, I was like, that's right. And that is a Rory Culkin, who was in Scream 4. And he also was in films like The Zodiac and The Chum Scrubber and Signs. But most people will know him, if not from Scream 4, from his earliest, well, one of his early roles, and that is in Richie Rich from 1994. He was the young Richie Rich, and so okay, you probably wouldn't know him from that, but I just thought that was a fun tidbit that, you know, that was him. But yeah, you're gonna know him from Scream 4 clearly, and that now that I've given you that connection, if you see the trailer, or I think he's in the trailer, but if you see the film, you'll be able to make that connection. Now, like I said, the film has a little bit of a twist and such, and I thought the twist itself was it was cool, but it didn't make much sense for the main character. She comes across as very, very timid and, you know, mentally unstable, which works for a portion of the film, but when it gets to that whole, you know, fighting back portion of a home invasion film, I didn't quite buy it, because she was still coming off as being slightly timid and a little, you know, not right in the head, instead of being not right in the head and maybe you know, here's what I'm really like, you're in trouble now type thing, and coming on with a vengeance. But yeah, I think that was my only real problem with the film, was that portion of her character didn't quite seem to fit with what was going on and the backstory and such, as much as I would have liked. She just seemed too feeble of a character to really work, in my opinion, in this instance. Now, that being said, I can't really give too much more away about her character and her situation without giving away all the cool aspects of this film. But I will say that the house itself is amazing, not only in terms of the design that they did to it, but in terms of the house that they managed to find. It's a great location, very, very labyrinthine, old house, very old style, and it just totally fits with this this idea, this shut-in type character. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that really, really works in this film. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. Like I said there, I had some problems with the character and the character development in the film and how she was reacting, and there are a few other instances that are just like, meh, but, you know, the twist is good. I really think that a change in the character development and a little bit better telling of the backstory could have made the twist be have more of an impact, because I don't know, you don't really see it coming. I guess maybe it's, I don't know. I haven't watched the trailer. Maybe there's something in the trailer, but honestly, it was one of those things where there was cheering from the audience, but at the same time, I didn't know what the heck was going on, and it's so out of the norm that you can't really relate to what's going on at that point. And I really wish, you know, for the viewer, it really helps to have some kind of relation to it, or some kind of a backstory, or some reason for it. And I just think that was kind of missing from this film to really help give the impact that the climax needed, or not even the climax, I guess the halfway point of the film. It's kind of a climax, but it'd be a very long climax and a drawn out one. And so, yeah, I'm getting a little shaky here, and it might be a little loud because I'm on the highway now. But yeah, so it's one of those films. If you like home invasion films, be whatever that may be in your mind, you'll probably like Shut In. I think it fits in pretty nicely with the genre, or subgenre in this case, and it does so without looking cheap. It doesn't look cheap. It looks, and that's one thing I really like about films. If you look cheap, you feel cheap, and often it takes a lot of other stuff in the film to really sell you on it. This one looks good right off the bat. The acting is decent, and then it's just a matter of telling the story and watching it unfold at that point, because everything else puts you into that film and the story. So as long as the story works and the telling of that story works, you usually end up with a decent film. And you know, this, I don't see this getting any type of theatrical, but it'll probably end up going direct to video. But at least I do see it getting a release of some sort, you know, be a video on demand only. Unfortunately, it seems things are going that way, but hopefully it'll get a DVD, Blu-ray release, and you'll be able to check it out that way, because it's one of those things where it's not a classic, and people who aren't collectors aren't necessarily going to buy it, but people who are hardcore genre fans and collectors are definitely going to want to add this one to their collection, if they're into modern horror and, like I said, home invasion films in general. And so yeah, that is Shut In for my 31 Days of Horror. I don't know what movie I'm up to, so we'll just leave it at that. And seeing as how it's getting kind of loud, I don't know how well you're hearing this, or if the background noise is really overpowering this this video. So I will leave it at that and say there's more 31 Days of Horror to come. So stay tuned, take care, have a good one.